Welcome into the inaugural episode of Meet Your Aldermen. My name is Jon Zaghloul, our Communications Director. Great to have you here as we begin this new series. Each month we'll sit down with one of our 12 Alderpeople here at the City of Aurora, get an inside look at who they are. We'll learn more about their backgrounds, discuss their aspirations for the city, and spend some time looking at specific projects taking place across Aurora. On today's episode, we're talking with the youngest elected alderperson in city history. He's a software engineer, member of the Finance Committee and Infrastructure and Technology Committee, one of two Aldermen at Large representing the entire city of Aurora. Let's welcome Alderman Keith Larson to Meet Your Aldermen. Alderman Larson, great to have you here with us on this inaugural episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What does that mean to you? You know, we sit down and we look at history here. You made history on April 1st, 2025, becoming the youngest ever alderperson in the city of Aurora, ever. What's that mean to you?
I don't know if it really means much at all. It is a weird thing to be an elected official. I'm, I think, a pretty introverted person, and I work on a computer all day. It's a very different thing. But I wanted to step out of my comfort zone, and I wasn't really thinking about the age. I didn't see that as a target, but yeah, I guess this is where I am.
Well, you talk about being an introvert. Obviously, when it comes to campaigning, you have to be more of an extrovert. Get out there, knock on doors, talk to people, attend campaign events. What did you learn about yourself when you campaigned for this role?
I guess I learned that I can go out of my comfort zone and push myself to do new things. I think it's important staying inside and being by myself is not good for anyone, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. But I think it's important to connect with your community, and this was really one way of doing that, of many different ways. So,
what sort of prompted you to run for this role and eventually assume office?
Mm-hmm. So before I ran for office, I got involved in political activism. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. It's a very crazy time that we're living in. But I think I sort of had an appetite for doing more and trying to help my community and affect the world around me as much as I can, and this was an opportunity to continue that work in a different way. But yeah, I think it was just a way of trying to see what I can do to help out the community in whatever way I can.
Let me ask you this, because you had a lot of support based on the numbers that came through after voting. Did you expect that much support and that much help from the community in getting you elected?
No. I was just kind of looking at the next step. A lot of campaigning is knocking on doors and just talking to people. So I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. I was just kind of thinking about go to that next door and see who I can talk to. I really didn't know what to expect, especially on election day. I had no expectation of winning, but it's where I got to.
What do you think is something that really resonated with voters? Because obviously a lot of them came out for you, and now you're in elected office and trying to carry out your agenda, which we'll get to in a little bit. But what's maybe one thing that's a part of your agenda when you campaigned you thought really resonated with those who voted for you?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people don't feel represented. They don't feel heard by the government in general. This isn't specific to Aurora. I think it's an issue everywhere. Local politics, we have pretty low participation, both in voting and just people coming out to city council meetings. But there's definitely an appetite for change, and I think most people realize that the path that we're heading down is not really working out for most people. And regardless of which side of the political spectrum any person falls on, it's important to have people that understand what issues people actually care about beyond just kind of vague political talking points.
And there's clearly a passion when you speak about things like this. Where did that passion come from? Was this something that sort of came together when you were younger? Did this come up at a later part in life? How did this all kind of come together for you?
Mm-hmm. I think like a lot of people, I've been feeling it too. I've been very lucky. I have a very good support structure, a very good family. I have a job. I'm very lucky to be where I am. But I think the direction that we're going in, it seems that a very small number of people are benefiting from the work of a lot of people. And whether I'm in a comfortable place now or not, I am a part of that machine, sort of. But I think it's important to work towards goals that are going to help every person.
You talk about being part of that machine. Now, though, you have the opportunity to make changes on the city council, which is very important and very exciting in your role. Now that you're on the council, it's almost been a year in about May. What are some key points that you want to try and hit home with in your next 3.5 years in office?
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of ideas that are floating around in my mind, but going back to what I mentioned earlier about community participation, especially in the local level, I think it's important to get more ordinary people, to put it that way, I guess, involved in the political process. At the local level, elected officials are more accessible. We're neighbors with everyone in the community. We're not someone that's off in Washington, D.C. doing whatever. But I think a big goal is trying to figure out how we get more people engaged. How do I reach people? And that's not, it's not an easy problem to solve, as the communications department is well aware of, I'm sure. You can't, there's no one size fits all solution. If you post something on Facebook that's reaching a certain demographic, if you're going to physical meetings, that's a different demographic. So I would like to try to get myself into more different places, both on the social media side, different types of social media, and also try to make it out to more neighborhood group meetings. There are a lot in the city. It's a pretty big city, and representing the whole thing, it's difficult to make it everywhere, but I got to do the best that I can.
I think there's something important that you brought up, and that's the fact that because we're in local government, you are neighbors with a lot of people who voted for you and just your general constituents. I would assume that from a personal perspective, that means much more to you. You're enacting work that people around you are able to see, and I would think that attracted you to this role in the first place, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely interesting. If there have been times like walking through the neighborhood that I've had conversations with people that I might not have had otherwise. I think that's one of the interesting perks of this, is getting to connect with people that I wouldn't have connected with otherwise. Obviously, there are other ways of doing that. There are a lot of different community activities, but it's just been a way of naturally connecting with my community more.
So I know you're not originally from Aurora, but you are now living in Aurora,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. What drew you to come to move to Aurora and then really plant your roots here and run for office?
Yeah, a number of things. The big thing that I've heard from a lot of people who have also chosen to make Aurora their home, it's the diversity. I grew up in Geneva, so not far away from Aurora, and Geneva is a lot more homogenous, you could say. Aurora, there's so much diversity, people speaking different languages, a lot of different types of food and art. It's one of the really cool things to be a part of. I love Chicago as well, but obviously Chicago is a lot less affordable than Aurora. Affordability is an issue everywhere, including in Aurora, but I think we have a bit of an advantage in that sense.
Absolutely. Alderman At-Large Keith Larson here with us on Meet Your Aldermen, the inaugural episode here with the City of Aurora. Alderman, let's talk about maybe some more of your priorities into the nitty-gritty. What's one thing that you really want to see get done in your next 3.5 years? Is there something really specific from a legislative perspective that you'd like to see get done and something that you'd like to see enacted by the city while you're on the dais?
One is something that we're discussing right now in City Council, which is the ethics ordinance. It's something that during the campaign season, when I was going out knocking on doors, I had to get signatures, a certain number of signatures to get on the ballot. And at the same time, I was also circulating petitions for a ballot referendum that a number of other people were circulating these petitions. And it was something similar to what we're discussing right now. It would put a cap on campaign contributions from anyone who does business with the city or is looking to do business with the city. It's something that I don't think it's as well known or as impactful of a problem at the local level compared to at the federal level particularly, but I think it's something that resonated with people on all parts of the political spectrum, where people are fed up with rich people being able to put their thumb on the scale and make things go in a certain direction that doesn't necessarily benefit everyone else.
And I would think from a transparency perspective, I'm sure as you talk to people, this was something they'd like to see so they know who's getting what and how that all kind of works out as it pertains to local government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are already built-in measures for transparency through the State Board of Elections. That only really applies if you have filed to have a campaign committee, which requires, or the minimum is $5,000. If you get at least $5,000, you have to file with the state and then report any contributions. And there's special reports that you have to do more promptly if you get a contribution of $1,000 or over. But I think that's kind of minimal. Not a lot of people are actually looking at that. And having extra measures in place, I think, gives people a bit of peace of mind. It doesn't necessarily solve the issue, but it's making steps towards, I think, a more fair political process.
As we talk about Aurora's long-term potential, we look at legislation like that and potentially other items that you'd like to see get passed. What do you see as it pertains to Aurora's long-term potential? There's so much going on here. There are so many good things to look forward to. What's your opinion on Aurora's potential moving forward?
Mm-hmm. I think Aurora has a huge potential. We're the second biggest city in the state. There's obviously a lot of land that has already been developed. It's not like we can continue expanding infinitely, but I think there are definitely ways that we can help address issues that are that people are facing everywhere across the country around affordability. And I think Aurora has a potential to be sort of a model for new and interesting ideas that will help benefit the greater good. Something that I've been interested in is how do we make sure that people are able to afford necessary things like housing. This is becoming a more and more prevalent issue everywhere, and we have a sizable unhoused population. And it's something that we have to solve. How do we keep housing affordable? And I think there are ways of benefiting the greater good through things that have been tried elsewhere, but I don't see as much in Illinois. Things like cooperative housing, community land trust. There's a few different models for that, but it would be sort of something in between rental housing and ownership, which requires some sort of upfront money that a lot of people don't have.
And I think a positive perspective when you look at Aurora is that the city and city staff have done things to that nature, right? Like the Habitat Green Freedom subdivision, working for the community block grants and the development dollars that come into the city every year that are dispersed. And I think that's already been, it's a really good job there done by community services. Potentially expanding on that could help a lot more people here. And maybe that's something you could look into and help with as you're in office too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Habitat for Humanity project is definitely an interesting one. I volunteered there one day a few months ago before it got really cold. It's really interesting how those houses are built. It's kind of like Legos. You're like building these foam blocks that lock in, and then they pour concrete into it. It's really interesting, but I was able to look in the model home that they have, and it's kind of amazing how like quiet it is, and it's much more energy efficient the way that it's built compared to traditional housing materials.
Is there anything else that you think needs to be done to amplify the city, to amplify its presence, and to really take Aurora to that next level?
Yeah, for sure. One that is definitely a complicated problem that I have been getting exposed to over the past few months is OnLight. Not necessarily OnLight itself, but the whole idea of high-speed broadband. It's something that we've seen across the country in other cities. I believe there's one in Iowa. The most well-known one is Chattanooga. The conditions are a little different in each place, but from an idealistic standpoint, it would be amazing to have high-speed internet accessible to everyone. It's something that I think could have happened a long time ago if we had invested resources in the right place. But how do we make that a reality in the future? I think that would be definitely something to explore and see if it is possible with what we have now.
Keith Larson, Alderman Keith Larson, still here with us on Meet Your Alderman, the inaugural episode. And Alderman, we have a couple of more questions for you before we wrap up today. What's been the most rewarding part about being an alderman so far? What's really stood out to you so far?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think sort of what I mentioned before, being able to connect with people in the community has been very rewarding. And particularly, there's not a whole lot of money that the Alderpeople have to be able to spend on different community events, but we do have some money that we can use to sponsor events. So it can be used to try to organize things, take a leadership role in that, or just help out what our wonderful community is already doing. And just kind of seeing things come to fruition, being a part of that is really rewarding. Something that Alderman White and I did recently in collaboration with a number of people in the community, the people who run the warming shelter and community advocacy awareness network as well. We worked together to put on a little New Year's Eve celebration at Hesed House, at the family shelter, the adult shelter, and then at the warming center, all on New Year's Eve. So even people who are having a rough time in their lives can have a little bit of joy on a day when everyone else is celebrating, and we don't want anyone to be left out from that.
And that's a really good point you bring up, because from an at-large perspective, you guys cover the entirety of the city of Aurora. I mean, that is a big job, even compared to some of the ward alder people, where you are helping to run and representing the entire city. So maybe talk a little bit more about what that's like for you compared to a ward alder person. What kind of differences exist between an alderman at large and a ward alder person, and how you're supposed to administer things and help represent everybody and not just a specific ward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult, but I think it's something that Alderman White and I have been trying to figure out together. We're both new in these positions, and I think working together is helpful. and then also, I guess, splitting up as well to try to cover more ground is helpful. Like I said, there's a lot of community groups, and each one of us can't go to everything all the time, but it is an interesting problem to try to solve. There are some community groups that are very active, and I'm trying to figure out how to get into all the different parts of the city. I think a lot of people also don't know that there are at-large alderpeople. It's an interesting problem to try to solve.
Well, you're the right man to solve it. You and Alderman White are very, very fine people, and I think you guys are doing a really good job.
Thank you.
As it pertains to that as well. Final question to wrap up. Wanted to end with a bit of a laugh. Has there been a funny moment or an unexpected moment so far as alderman that's really got you going, that really got you to laugh out loud or be like, wow, I didn't really expect this?
I don't know. I guess there have been a lot of unexpected things. I don't know of any particular thing. That is a good question.
There's been a learning curve, though, I'm sure.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's not what I expected. In good ways and in bad ways, both.
Well, we'll focus on the good ways for sure. And we certainly appreciate your service, and the City of Aurora does as well. Obviously, congratulations on winning the election, first of all, and we're looking forward to catching up more often as your next 3.5 years fly by. It's going to be election time again before you know it, I'm sure, but we appreciate you taking the time and being the first guest on Meet Your Aldermen here at the City of Aurora. Well, thank you all for watching. Every month we're going to come out with a new episode as we spotlight each of the alderpeople here in the City of Aurora. As we mentioned, Alderman Will White, he'll be our next guest next month in February, our other Alderman at Large. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.